All right, I'm excited about this one. Yogi Roth, first time here on the Illini Inquirer podcast. And I know it's a year late, but welcome to the Big Ten, Yogi. I know you had a year kind of experience of this. You've been traveling with the Big Ten network crew with these campus tours. So what stands out so far about the transition from Pac-12 ball to Big Ten ball?
Well, I think it starts with the people, much like yourself. Like I followed you for a long time, like whether it's Alan True, like I go back. My first gig was scout.com. It was
Yeah.
in 2010. So Joe Cox and I can remember the whole squad. Brandon Huffman was one of the first people I ever met in this media profession when I left coaching. So I'd say the same thing from entering the Big Ten. It's the people. Like it really has been the smoothest possible of transitions from the executives at the very top of the Big Tech network. I mean, Mark Halsey's and Francois, like all the people that are running the day to day, the producers on the ground, and then the other people on air, like Jerry DiNardo, Jake Butt, Howard, Dave, Rick. They've all become pseudo family, and I think that was really cool because when new people come in, Ashley Adams and I reference it a lot of like it could have been arm's length. It wasn't. It was like arms wide open. Come on in. This is how we do things. And I just really have high regard for that because that's just how high functioning teams work. So that's been fun. And then the football front. And this training camp tour, Jeremy, was the first time I got to see every school. So like I checked them all off. It took a year and change. But that was really fun for me to not just watch the film. I could watch it here in my little creative space in California, but to get on campus, to get to Illinois, to get to Wisconsin, get to Iowa, to get to Northwestern, to get like that to me was fun because I grew up watching Penn State. I grew up in the Big Ten footprint in Pennsylvania. So now as a professional to leave the West Coast and really get embedded, I feel like I know guys. I hope that our crew has gained trust, from sitting in Brett Bielema's office, for instance, or getting to know Kirk Ferentz and having our Pittsburgh connection from way back in the day. And that's been one of the greater joys of being a part of this league.
Well, Yogi, for people who don't know, I mean, you were a college coach. You've been involved in Elite 11, coached under Pete Farrell, quarterbacks coach. You've been around other programs now. You've been on this tour. So I'm just interested in your perspective as a former coach, as somebody who's seen all these other schools. What stand out about Illinois when you get in there and you get to see their operation for a day?
Okay, a couple things. Okay, I'll go high level, and then so at every stop I build like a board for myself to make practice just easier to watch. So I got all my notes on my board, so I'll get into like the nitty gritty as well. But let me just say big picture. You know better than anybody. There's hype around Illinois, worthy, garnered, earned, however you want to phrase it, expected maybe. I walked into that facility not knowing what to expect at all. And Coach Bielema allowed us to go into a team meeting. And I've been around a bunch of championship teams and cultures. You referenced Coach Carroll. I was just up in Vegas watching them as they're gearing up for this season. I obviously was there a ton at SC. I was there a ton in Seattle. And when there's expectations, I really believe it goes one of two ways. One way is we get stressed as a culture. There's already performance anxiety. That's a natural, but there's a stress around that that's added. And that stress is also fake. Like it's not real other than inside your own head. And what do I mean by that? Okay, when practice doesn't go great, instead of encouraging, you're almost demeaning. Hey man, why didn't we do this? We're better than this. We're not going to achieve the goal that we and everyone else has put forth in front of us. When I walked into that team meeting that night, I didn't know what to expect. I knew Coach Bielema a little bit. We've interviewed him a handful of times. Like he's always been super cool, but never knew the ethos of what was in the walls of that building. And I'm not going to pretend that I am an expert in it now, but in my limited experience a couple of weeks ago, when we walked in that evening, you could feel a lightness. Like it was light. And I believe that things can be hard, but they don't have to be heavy. It's hard to win games. It's hard to go training camp. It doesn't have to feel heavy. And it didn't feel that way. Watching players get up in front of the team, listening to the head coach speak, listening to assistants speak, it felt as though they've embraced as a program that everybody has a chip on their shoulder. And for some, maybe that chip is larger than others. And two things can be true. They've also embraced that this is what a cool opportunity that we've earned is to gain and garner hype from others around the country. And I just walked out saying, it felt light. And then when I watched him practice, it felt the same way. So to me, I don't think the expectations are going to be heavy for this team. I don't think they are heavy for this team. I often think that when you have them, you're entering new environments. It is a new environment for Illinois football. They haven't seen preseason expectations like this, and you know better than me. I coached against the Ron Zook team. I don't think they had the preseason expectation to go to the Rose Bowl that year, right? So I have to give the credit to the head coach. Like, that's the culture that he sets. It's high standards, big expectations, but it's not heavy, and that was my biggest takeaway.
Obviously, we talked about your quarterback background. Luke Altmyer is one of the most proven quarterbacks here in the Big Ten. What's your assessment of Luke as a quarterback, what he does well, his next steps for his growth to become not only a great college quarterback and take the next step here, but to become an NFL quarterback? What do you think of him?
Well, I'm a big fan of him. I spent the summer, 'cause I'm going to call one of your early games this season. And so just started preparing for it a little earlier than maybe you would normally if you had a team in October, So I just went back and I watched all your critical games last year. And you can stack them in the film and just be like, all right, what are he and Barry Lunney trying to get done? Each and every snap, each and every situation. It's really fun, man. Like, just taking notes as you're watching. So let me just start with the obvious probably, but the one thing that I think gets quarterbacks in the door is you have to be an elite competitor. Number two, you have to be tremendously accurate. Like, not here, but here, front number. Can you get it to Caden Fagan on a swing pass here, not here, so we can catch it and run with it? Okay, check. You've seen that. I've seen that for years now. The third one is the most critical one to me, and that's discernment. And I learned that from David Shaw over the years. David Shaw is a disciple of Bill Walsh. He played for Bill Walsh. When Bill was back in San Francisco or back at Stanford, David would always go visit him. And he would always let me see his notes because I was just enamored with whatever Bill Walsh said. I grew up in a West Coast offense. I think the principles in this offense that they run are very similar to that. You take a picture from a drone's eye view, you'll see triangles all over the field at the end of a passing play or any type of scheme that they're kind of operating within. So I say all that of, like, discernment is making decisions and high percentage ones. So when I watched him last year, whether it was in the bowl game or mid-season or early in the season, I think that's what you saw be a relative constant for him. High percentage decisions, getting the ball out, eyes in the right place, manipulating defenders within the scheme. Now, what I think is going to be really fun, the next level is just even more command at the line of scrimmage. Like, okay, he already got his undergraduate degree in this system over the last 2 years. Now it's the master's degree. And after spending some time with him, and he and Drew Aller both fall into this bucket, and I think this is a trend, having seen it at the Elite 11, is the quarterbacks are leaning into mental skills. They're leaning into tools to be able to navigate praise and blame, able to navigate a long season, able to navigate their own thoughts. Because quarterbacks, to me, are the most sensitive position in sports, man.
Yeah.
It just is, because you've been coached. Think about your kids. Like, you've coached your kids every single step of the way, every breakfast they've had their entire lives. You told them, hey, bring the plate up or whatever it might be. Quarterbacks get coached in every snap. Good throw, bad throw, good read, poor read, improve this, enhance this, foot 6 inches this way, toe 2 inches this way, eyes that, like, so I think that there's a sensitivity to that position where you always want to be perfect. You want to make the people coaching you feel as though you've got it figured out. And I think at some point, every quarterback, as Bill Walsh would say and David Shaw shared with me, their shoulders drop.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, all right, I got it. Like, look out. And I think that's where we're going to see him. Like, think about the Penn State game in his first real, true big-time start on Big Noon a couple years ago, where he threw a bunch of picks. Last year, and how he navigated that season. I mean, just think of the throw against Rutgers. Mm-hmm. Like, think of just that in and of itself. The intensity of a single play that you'd argue there's a bunch of close ones, but one of the many that transformed the season to where he sits now. And I just keep seeing growth, and it's a growth-minded position, and I think he has that outlook. He seems to be as confident, comfortable, driven as I'd imagine he's ever been, just based on his experience.
Yeah, you hit it. His personal growth has been unbelievable to watch the last couple of years. I do want to ask you about the wide receiver position, a position you know well. You played it, roommates with Larry Fitzgerald at Pittsburgh. Illinois needs to replace 2 stars. And I think sometimes Dakari Franklin gets overlooked because of the year Pat Bryant had, but they have to replace 2 of those guys. What do you think they have there? And what is the key for whether it's Colin Dixon or Malik Elsey or Hank Beatty to go from, third, fourth, fifth, sixth guy in the rotation to being the guy or one of the guys? What's the key to all that?
Yeah, that's a real fun question. I'm just kind of like looking down at my depth chart and I see all the names that you reference, right? Whether it's them, and I see Mario Sanders, I see Alexander Kapka Jones, Hudson Clement. Like there's bodies there that I think are capable. I don't know if every team needs like a true bell cow, quote unquote, first round pick. Like everybody doesn't have Jeremiah Smith or Denzel Boston. If you look at 2 of the top receivers returning in the Big Ten, I think so much of this system, after studying it, is yes, making plays down the field, making plays when the ball's in the air. Just reference the Rutgers game where what an amazing finish, and not many guys can make that play and take it to the house as he did. But if you can run the football, man, and I know it's cliche, but it is true, it just cleans up the entirety of the operation. This isn't an air raid scheme where they're just going to spray it all over the yard. And I go to the other areas of this offense first. Like when I watched this offensive line trot out, I had just come from Penn State, and I'm saying to myself, okay, yep, this is it. And then right afterwards, I flew to Oregon. And after comping like those 3, I'm like, okay, like Illinois' offensive front looks the part. They're going to run the football. They've got multiple backs that I think will impact this thing. Luke is a threat with his legs. So all that to say, I'm not worried if teams are going to, stack the box per se and force guys to win one-on-one. Like I think there's enough within the scheme to get guys open. And I think the receivers that you referenced are talented enough to win versus man-to-man coverage. Now, can they win in the most critical downs against the best teams in a Big Ten championship? We'll see. That to me is like the growth of what a season is. But I didn't walk away saying, like last year at Penn State, I walked away and I was like, I don't know at that position, and not to light up that receiving core, but I just didn't see on 3rd and 7, and I'm going to play blitz 0, and I'm going to say, okay, go beat, Jamar Muhammad, who was a corner at Oregon, for instance. I wasn't saying, yeah, I think that'll happen all game long. I was saying he got to scheme guys open, which Andy Kolnicki did pretty regularly. I feel like I'm way more confident in this group. To say who's going to emerge, you probably know better than me, man, of like what you've seen every day at practice. But I didn't walk away saying that I don't think they have a guy.
So our ad guy, Alex, likes to send me some of the product that we sponsor on this show so I can share some anecdotes about the product, which is great. It's fantastic that he does it. But when a cooler full of Omaha steak shows up at my door, I get a little excited because they are fantastic. My wife and I ripped immediately into the sirloins and cooked those up just based on the grilling guide they send along with you. So even if you don't have great grill experience, they tell you exactly how to cook these things to perfection. And I got to say, these are some of the tenderest steaks I've ever had. Since then, I've had their chicken breast. I always have chicken in the fridge, but this chicken was some of the tenderest I've ever had. We just had some of the sirloin tips. Just fantastic meat all around. And that's what you get with Omaha Steaks. Handcrafted steaks to other family grilling favorites. They deliver the world's best steak experience. They also have juicy burgers, deli-style franks, meaty chicken wings, and more. And it's grilling season, guys. We've got Labor Day right around the corner. And of course, you need something for your tailgates at the Illini football game. There's nothing like adding the sizzle of Omaha steaks to your grilling tailgate. So stock up now and celebrate Labor Day with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Labor Day sale and add an extra $35 off if you use promo code Illini at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code Illini at checkout. See site for details. I want to ask you, you brought up Barry Lunney and his scheme. He's the longest tenured OC in the Big Ten. Illinois had gone through so many, and he's probably going to be a head coaching candidate at some point here in the next year or two. What do you think of his offense? What is the identity? What sticks out to you about it?
It's awesome. It's fun to watch. So there's a group of coaches. Every coach has like a tree per se. So Will Stein came from Barry Lunney. Sean Davies, a guy who I'm tight with, he's still down there when they were in Texas, came from that tree. Like, and these are guys that I love just kind of talking shop with all off season. What do you do? How do you do it? What are you leaning into? What's a new trend? And every time I talk to somebody, they all reference Barry Lunney Jr. They all go back to him and how he teaches it and the detail within the scheme. And as I watched him, his offense, without having known him yet, I met him in training camp, of course, but I had never met him before. I just heard so much about him over the years, and it's impressive, man. Why do I say that? I rarely see plays where they're at a disadvantage and they're just going to run the play, like meaning they have answers. I think sometimes in offenses that come from certain trees, you can think, well, they're just going to run what they run, and they're so confident in it. And there's an edge to that. That's how Mike Leach taught me the air raid, 15 years ago. That's not what Barry Lunney Jr. does. Like the creativity, the answers within the playbook, the answers at the line of scrimmage, it's impressive. Like you go back and study it. Now, they're not going to take a 7-step drop and ask Luke Altmyer to climb the pocket and navigate, some monsters coming off the edge. Like that's not what they're going to do either. Like they're going to look at the opponent and say, okay, where are our deficiencies? Where are they going to attack our deficiencies just like anybody would? How do we make sure we can mitigate that? So you go back to like the South Carolina game, the amount of times the ball was out early, I mean, it's 10-1, man, right? Like it's whether it's an RPO and the ball's out, it's a shot downfield, the ball's out, but it's playing aggressive. Like I often like the idea of like, can an offense tilt the field? Like, can you go like that? And there are times where you feel as a defense like you're a little bit on your heels. It's not all the time, but every snap you got to have an answer because they have one, because Luke's so good at the line of scrimmage. And I like that part of where this team is at. And I think Barry Lunney is a huge part of it. I also will say this, in the head coaching world, you're straight on. Like he is a big time candidate for a bunch of jobs, but I wonder if coordinators want those jobs.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not, and I love those jobs. When
it's not bad to be Brett Bielema's offensive coordinator making $1 million compared to a Sun Belt job. You don't know whether it's great or not. Now, if Arkansas comes calling, it's different, right? But
that's right. That's right. So I'd be curious to watch. Like I think that's gonna be a trend in college football. Like I'd put Will Stein in the same category, like Andy Koldenicki, same category. Like think of some of the play callers in this, like Jimmy Doherty at UW, same category. I'm just kind of like racking my mind at places I'd just been. Like we saw Tino Sinceri go from Indiana to UCLA. Mike Shanahan, like unless Pitt opens up, like where he played as a wide receiver, like is he going to want to go to another place? I think it goes down to like, do you feel the need to lead? And I think that head coaching jobs are so big now that you're basically running half a team. You're as a coordinator. So I think guys really enjoy that. And knowing what I know about Brett Bielema is his staff really likes working for him. Like he's created an environment that's healthy, that's obviously competitive and has an edge to it. But you know better than me, but I don't get the vibe that guys are sleeping in the office and they're 24/7. Like I get the vibe where like they all kind of live close to campus. Hey, go put your kids to bed, like get what you got to get done, like handle your business, do your job. Kind of like the old Belichickian quote, maybe. So I'm high on him. It was really fun to get to know him because I heard so much about him over the years.
I got to let you go, Yogi, but keep this under a minute if you want. But I wanted to ask you about the West Coast teams they play. USC at home early in the season, Washington, a road trip that I think could be a tough game. What do you think of those two teams that Illinois has got to play from the West Coast?
Well, it just was there within the last 72 hours at two of those, the two that you referenced at UW and SC. I'll say this about Washington. Really both. When they trotted out their starting 11, it's the first time I've said, especially at Washington in year 2 with Jed Fish, oh, they look the part. Like, look out. Like, and if they can stay healthy, that place is going to be bonkers. I think this is pretty true in the Big Ten and really all of football. When you go to new places that you have no history at, you can be shocked a little bit. Ask the Buckeyes when they went to Autzen last year to play Oregon. They were like, whoa, the speed, like all of it was just a little more than anticipated. It's a great game. Could have gone either way at the end, but point being is that like I think there's a thing like that. I called USC going to Minnesota last year. That was a thing. Whoa, I didn't realize it's this bonkers here. I think the same might be said when SC comes to town and when Illinois goes to Seattle. Because if UW is on a roll, that thing will be ridiculous. I'd argue it'll be as loud as any place that they go. Like it'll shock you. They keep the noise in. And then you add in DeMond Williams and the team. They're a really talented team. Like that'll be a really good, cool game. And then for SC, you could circle and say this is like a moment for them. And I think there's a bunch of games this year that are almost like playing games. Right? If you're just going to subscribe, and I know it might be lazy, but if you're going to subscribe to Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon as the 3 best rosters, which I subscribe to, right. They've got the most competitive depth that I see. Okay, and if the Big Ten's going to have 4 playoff teams, if we just say that as the floor of this thing, the Indiana, Illinois playing game, you could argue, right? USC, Illinois playing game, and as I went around the league, like if you have that one echelon of roster depth. The next one is kind of everybody. You know, it's Nebraska, it's Iowa, it's Minnesota, it's Indiana, it's the 2 teams, the 3 teams we're talking about now. So I just think all those games are going to be close, man. And you know better than me, but I've followed the Big Ten for my whole career, so call that 20 plus years. Obviously only in it for a year. Last year, the biggest disappointment as an analyst was I thought the quarterback play was down.
Yeah, for sure.
This year, I think it's the best it's been in 20 years. Nico at UCLA, Fernando going to Indiana, Jaden at SC, DeMond now starting at UW. Like you go up and down the line, man. And then you have 5 that return of the 18 schools that have 5 or more starts, including Luke Altmyer, Drew Aller, Ethan Kelly, Commandus, Dylan Raiola. Like I just think that these games are going to be won in the margins. And it's, last year, 31 conference games decided by a score or less. Mm-hmm. As a broadcaster, I hope it's 61. Like, I hope it's every game just for the sake of a fun Saturday. But I think these quarterbacks are going to be a big reason why.
Yogi Roth, Big Ten Network analyst. Check out his podcast as well, Y Option. Yogi, this was a blast. Learned a lot. Appreciate the time, and hopefully we can catch up down the road soon, man.
Yeah, can't wait to see you in September, man. Looking forward to it. And thanks for having me on. You do an awesome job. I read all your stuff, so I'm all in. You're one of the few that I'm like alert on my phone of like. So thank you. Keep tweeting. Keep letting us know what's going on in Illinois.
Appreciate that, Yogi. Thanks, man.
You got it, bro.